today. He has not looked massively focused. We saw him against Simon
25.
Stevenson. He was not brilliant. Mid-90s average. It was only a mid-90s average in his first game. A little sign of weakness in MvG today. He has not looked massively focused. We saw him against Simon
25.
Stevenson. He was not brilliant. Mid-90s average. It was only a mid-90s average in his first game of the day against Sean Carroll, and he was taken to a last-leg decider. Granted, he's just beaten Kim Huybrechts with an average of almost 100, 6-4, and he smashed Gavin Carlin all over the board with an average of almost 108.
Bullseye. Jonny to throw first.
But he has not looked quite as invincible today as he did yesterday, for example, or at the Masters, or indeed at the World Championship. The Ferret.
140.
Well, look.
180.
But Van Gerwen, quite capable of making bigger statements, bolder statements, louder statements. We've already seen 3 9-darters
95.
here in Wigan today. Gert Nenches. Won't see one here. Dave
60.
Chisnell. And Chris Dobie, sensationally, on this streaming board, throwing a 9-dart decider against his fellow North East player, Dave the Badger Prince.
58.
If you want to see that 9-darter again, it is on social media. Check out the PDC's
55.
official channels. All courtesy of Loop Productions. Now then, Ferrets.
180.
Now then, Ferrets. Eve 28.
96.
It was a succession of massive finishes that Jonny Clayton took out when he beat Van Gerwen in a quarter-final in one of these events last year.
Game shot.
But at 28, it may not be massive, but it's just as important. 1-0 to the plasterer from South Wales.
140. 85.
Only has 2 victories against Michael Van Gerwen. That one on the Pro Tour last year, on his way to the final of the event.
125.
And 125 for Clayton. Van Gerwen's actually on 262 here. There we go, the scoreboard's caught up. Clayton down to 2. Yeah, the other win came at the Grand Slam of Darts last year in the group stages, won in a deciding leg when Van Gerwen looked like he was going to annihilate Clayton. And then he did beat
77.
in the quarterfinals in a thriller as 177 is scored by Jonny Clayton, and he's threatening to break the Van Gerwen throw and take a 2-0 lead.
99.
Now, an opportunity. The Ferret can sense it. He senses it. And he's Jonny Clayton with a 12-darter to break the Van Gerwen throw.
$100.
Well, you got the feeling watching Van Gerwen earlier when he was playing Simon Stevenson, a man he'd beaten 5 times out of 5. And he didn't look focused, but he still managed to win it pretty convincingly. It was
96.
6-2 scoreline. Despite not playing particularly well. You almost felt like he was
119.
just going through the motions. He cannot afford to do that against Jonny Clayton. He knows this. He knows what Clayton is capable of doing to him.
137.
He also knows that Clayton cannot count. Jonny admits that himself.
84.
That's why he's down to 168, a bogey number. Van Gerwen hardly ever makes those mistakes.
140.
And that means he gets opportunities at big outshots like this. And Van Gerwen can take out these outshots at crucial times. Oh, my word.
39.
He escapes. The ferret wriggles away from that one. Oh, no, pressure telling. You could see him chuntering away to himself. He knew it was an important moment, but he couldn't seize it this time.
Game shot.
Oh, is it in? It is in. Wow. It looked like it took a pretty savage deflection off that dart just outside, but it did sneak into the double 8. Big moment, that one. A break straight back for MvG.
180.
Straight in there with his first 180.
$95. $180.
Back to back 180s from Michael van Gerwen. 141 remain. 3 times already we've seen perfection in 99. Wigan today. Is it 17 9-darters in his career, MvG? 2 years ago, he hit 2 in a game. And he's hit another one here today. Michael van Gerwen, the fourth 9-darter we've seen in Wigan today. Unreal stuff, and the world #1 delivers. 2-2 in this one.
$43.
Michael van Gerwen's 18th 9-darter in his career, and I believe that's probably the first time he's gone that route.
$21.
2 years ago today, he did hit 2 9-darters in a game, and it was 99. A game that only lasted 9 legs.
Check, 139.
Yes, we'd seen more than 1 9-darter in a game. We'd seen Phil Taylor hit 2 himself in the same match, but that was a longer format match.
140.
That was shown on the live stream at the time 2 years ago. And on the anniversary, 96. Van Gerwen has produced perfection again. On a day which has seen Gert Nenches, the young Dutchman, hit a 9-darter. Dave Chisnell hit one, and Chris Dobie hit one. Now Michael van Gerwen joins the party.
139. $139.
Clayton cannot take out the 158.
100.
To hit the front in this game for the first time, Michael van Gerwen. Double 16.
Game shot.
Is pinned. 3-2 to MvG. 109 average from van Gerwen. And Clayton, all he can do is stand at the back and chuckle to himself. I did grab a quick word with Johnny earlier on and asked him about yesterday, when van Gerwen averaged 111 to stop his charge in the quarterfinals. And he jokingly called van Gerwen a knave.
97.
There's a lot of respect between these two because they have had some fantastic matches against each other.
123.
But if this carries on at this standard, this literally means that the last 3 Pro Tour games between these two guys that have all come in the space of less than 6 months.
140.
One of them has averaged around about the 110 mark.
79.
There's just something about Mighty Mike and the Ferret that produces top-class stuff from one, if not both of them.
100.
Oh, it's a great-looking ton, that. That's a heat map shot. If you point the points of the darts, you put them in, it's like, oh, that's fantastic. But unfortunately, they're just the wrong side of the treble 20.
$140.
Treble 17 for double 16 is the shot for MvG. That's the treble. But he cannot find the double on this occasion. And Clayton has a chance to break back.
Game shot.
And this is reminiscent of their meeting at the Grand Slam in the group stages, where it looked like MvG was just throwing the kitchen sink at Jonny Clayton, and he somehow managed to hang in there. Van Gerwen was doing all the eye-catching stuff.
140.
And Clayton found a way to nick that game 5-4.
96.
They both went through their groups, of course, at the group stage, and they met again in the knockouts and the quarterfinals. And Van Gerwen won that 16-12.
100.
But Clayton looks as if he fancies this. He might be able to do it.
100.
It always used to be the case that if a player throws a 9-darter, they might well go to pieces afterwards. It's such a rare thing. But Van Gerwen has done nearly 20 of these things. It's just water off the duck's back
140.
to it. It's not as if his level has dropped massively. He's still averaging about 105.
145.
60-25. Back to the 60. Leaves himself 160. Scoreboard just waiting to catch up. Clayton wanted 121.
97.
That leaves him 24. Van Gerwen. Another one in there. Leaves double top.
120.
But Clayton to go ahead. Oh my word. Double three.
Game
It's
shot.
there. It's there. It's a cheeky one from the ferret, but it'll do. And there's the little smile again. Earlier on,
81.
he was smiling because he could do nothing to stop Van Gerwen. Now, it's a different little smirk on the Welshman's face.
140.
This is magnificent.
120.
The winner of this goes through to the semi-finals and faces either Dave Chisnell
96.
or James Wade. That game is getting underway. Wade 1-0 up in the early stages.
57.
Tell you in the other half of the draw, the players to have made it through: Ryan Searle, Joe Cullen, John Henderson and Glenn Durrant.
137.
Jonny Clayton again giving us an exhibition in how not to count. Had he hit a single 19 there, he'd have left a bogey number and it would have hurt him. But the fact he hit the treble means that he has got a shot here. Another one in there. Oh, he's gone over to the 14s. And that is magnificent, Jonny Clayton. 5-3. And Jonny Clayton is throwing for a 6-3 victory and to become the first man to beat Van Gerwen this year. The first man to beat Van Gerwen since the Players' Championship finals at the end of November.
95.
And the first man to beat him on the Pro Tour since October.
60.
Darryl Gurney, the last man to beat MvG. That was in the Players' Championship finals. The last time he lost on the Pro Tour was to Martin Schindler, the German number 2, just before the World Grand Prix.
180.
That is a maximum for Jonny Clayton. And this has been stunning.
90.
We said Clayton would have to play one of his best games to beat Van Gerwen. He started off well, but when Van Gerwen reeled off 3 successive legs in
90.
We said Clayton would have to play one of his best games to beat Van Gerwen. He started off well, but when Van Gerwen reeled off 3 successive legs, including a 9-darter...
41.
You thought the ferret might well have just capitulated. Not a bit of it.
96.
Van Gerwen might know the game is up here. He is powerless to stop Clayton in this instance.
140.
45 points. That is all that stands between MvG, the best player in the world, the reigning world champion, and
59.
his first defeat of 2019. Jonny Clayton, the ferret from Pontyberem, wants double 16, and he beats him. That is spectacular. What a contest. 106 average for Clayton, defying MvG, defying the perfect leg from the world number 1. And Jonny Clayton is through. He will take on either James Wade or Dave Chisnell.